It's fourth quarter, 2021, and I'm leaning in. I'm giving it everything that I've got, and I know that I'm not alone. People are rising. Truth is rising. Power and potential is rising like never before. If only they knew. If they knew how powerful they were, if they knew they had the power to heal themselves, if they knew that there's miracles within them just waiting to manifest. If only you knew. If only I knew. And there is sacred space between conversations where you ask the question, what's the one thing you wish humanity knew? And the answer that comes from people's experiences, their stories, their challenges, their victories, their heartaches. We all have medicine. We all have sacred something within us. And when we share it with one another, that, my friends, is where the magic lies. And fourth quarter, 2021, I'm coming for you. I'm bringing you some of my favorite humans on this planet, the ones that are doing the work, braving the dark, and bringing the light. So let's get started with another episode of If They Knew.
Hey
everybody, it is Dr. Devin. We are doing a special little chiropractic mashup of sorts, and I've called on a few of my favorite friends, mentors, colleagues, esteemed guides in this journey of life. And the two that I have with me today are some angels here on earth that I really do, heart of hearts, believe were handpicked to usher in the heaven vibration to the 3D earth experience that we all have. So let me introduce the fairy godmother and the fairy godfather of chiropractic, Dr. Katina and Dr. Stu. Welcome.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
This is such a gift to be together. And that's wild that you would say what you just said, that we have been picked. Because I was sitting in meditation right before this and I says, okay, what's up, God? What are we going to talk about? And then I pull these little cards and it says, I picked you. You are ordained for this. It's like, whoa, out of my 3 cards. And it said, you will bring forth fruit. So what we are and believe and function from, the above, down, inside out, is we've been mainlined for this gift. And it is a gift. We just got to close your eyes and think of 10 cases, never mind the thousands of cases that you touch, and see the humongous shifts. So thank you, Devin. Thank you, Devin. I send my patients to you. They watch you on the computer and they come in and they're so excited. They're like, I spent the whole weekend watching that Dr. Devin. She's awesome. She lifts my spirit. She ignites me.
Yes. We never know how far reaching, huh? It's not our job to judge how it is heard or how it is seen, but it is only our job to speak it. And to share it. So yes. And we're aligning time zones. So thank you guys for we're literally bringing it to center and I'm excited. So I did, share a few of these questions. I like when innate just moves us, and I have no doubt that the spirit will just move this conversation as it sees fit. And I know both of you just speak straight from the spirit anyway, from your soul to the souls that will be listening and watching. So Dr. Stu, I'm going to start with you.
Hey.
Over the past, however long, it feels like a decade, but 19 months, right? In this crisis, opportunity, song and dance that we are all in, what has been the biggest lesson you have learned?
Of the 10,000 lessons I've learned, let's see. 2, I think, really come to mind, and they're really things I guess I've relearned. Number 1 is that life is just a huge surprise party, and that it's so important to feed your soul and keep your resilience and keep making that choice for love that Tina just said. It is an easy choice to make, though. Sometimes it seems to be the hardest choice to make. But anyway, that's one. And I'm really grateful for all the work that I was doing before, because, it obviously was helpful to keep my sanity and to keep showing up and to keep speaking my truth. So that's one. The other is that that the principles that I've believed in and loved and espoused and taught, they really are true.
Mm-hmm.
And that they apply in every, I could see Sid Williams dropping the keys. The law is the law, the principle is the principle. And even though I would, all part of me wants to say that, this all becomes harder when it seems like nobody else is sort of holding to those principles. But I know that's a perception that's actually one of my personal subluxations that you're probably going to ask me about. But in the meantime, we talk about a life without fear from our principles, and it's just all true. And when we work those principles and when we come from them, it obviously doesn't necessarily change the appearance of things, but it changes everything. So I guess those would probably be my two biggest lessons.
When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change, huh?
Absolutely.
Katina,
Yeah.
What have you learned or remembered over the last couple of years here?
Stay in my own world. Trust this connection. Because I can do anything. When I hear the news and I listen to the vibe out there, whoa, I literally feel my whole being just get heavy and thick and congested, and all the metabolites just gel. I'm like, whoa. So my biggest thing was to become really hyper aware of my boundaries and my choices. And I only allow truth in my bubble, in my field. And that living in that light and that truth of it is all right, and live every day as if I'm going to die tomorrow. And I'm not going to focus on the stuff. I'm going to focus on everything that is good and true and right, and the gifts that I'm given. And I'm going to work my tail off, multiplying it and magnifying and sending out the ripples of light that are coming inside of me and changing me every day. I get younger, I'm kind of getting older, but I'm really yet much younger because of the wisdom and working that wisdom. And that's such our chiropractic principles. And I take for granted totally that this is normal.
Right.
And that's why people flock to the office to get some peace.
PIECE or PEACE?
Oh, get their peace together to hear the peace inside versus the disharmony outside. Basic rules. Living by the Spirit says, focus upon all my good things, God says. Meditate upon all my good things. So turning that dial, every time crap comes in, it's like, not allowed. And I literally dial it out.
Because it's a choice. Yes. We're all in this same experience. And yet no two people are having the same interaction with it. Right. And the power of choice always in us. We look to the next one. Currently, Dr. Stu, what is your biggest personal subluxation and what adjustment needs made?
I think the biggest challenge for me is not being in practice anymore and not being out in the world. I have a tendency to isolate and disengage sometimes, and that never feels good to me, and it's not who I am. So I've had to work hard in various creative ways to stay connected and to stay. Connection is what I've missed. Connection is my biggest subluxation. So it's why being in Sedona with you two was such a gift, and
why we need to get Vortex 2022 on the books, huh?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So, and what needs to be done is I need to keep open to creative ideas and overcome my resistance that I have sometimes, because sometimes the world doesn't feel safe to me. And, so since I'm not out there every day, I really miss being in practice. So maybe my biggest practice subluxation right there is I'm not in practice.
We're coming into that one. But that longing might just lead to the next chapter of service.
Yes, who knows?
Yeah. Miss Katina, what is your biggest personal subluxation?
I can say ditto on yours too. I'd love to hide out. It's really beautiful in my little world. And stepping into the call is what I always need to keep doing. And I find if I acknowledge that I'm hiding out, then and I'd spend the time in prayer and just kind of stirring up my joy again, something shows up. Something shows up that keeps me connected to the Zoom call, the weird private cases that come in, or just something that makes me get challenged. And because I get challenged, I get to up level. I may not want to do it, which is usually, that's my biggest subluxation is I just don't want to. And that's my choice. Whereas if I get out of my own way and go, what's the better thing to do? Do it. Do it. Challenge yourself, up level, go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
Well, and I think there's blessing and curse in both, right? Some of it is intuition to isolate and to quiet and to get to those peaceful places, but it's to quiet the noise. And yet when we go too in, we start to contract and shrink. And then it becomes time to go out again.
Yeah.
And mastering, the listening to which gear is being called, I think is so important.
And I find when I go too in, I end up having a little harder time loving people. So easier time judging or again, isolating. When I say isolating, that's more of what I mean. I mean, I do isolate physically. But
it's such a fascinating thing and why I felt so called to do these conversations, because you are like the love doctor, right? Like you are the heart space guy, that you are the heart guru that I would, refer people to go listen to. And so to hear you say that you do struggle with loving people. I mean, no one that knows you would even guess that that's possible, right? And yet you are human in this experience. And I think it's so important to the chiropractic student, the chiropractic CA, the chiropractor listening, in that we are all human. And so we have to face these subluxations in order to grow and in order to live a more fulfilled life, but also to step fully into our service. So thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Yeah. So as we go into that, as we go from you, the person, into you, the chiropractor, you, the teacher, you, the speaker, you, the leader, what would you say your biggest subluxation is professionally speaking?
Tina, why don't you go first this time? Then I can say ditto.
Okay, that's good. Professionally, I kind of need to almost break it down. Business-wise, practice-wise, presentation-wise, there's a weakness there. Hiring and firing, doing the business, buying a property, those pieces I got down. The challenge for me is to say, hire some more people, Katina. Okay, instead of people can't come in until December. I mean, that's a creepy feeling to hear the secretary say that when I'm in the back room. And so, yeah, it's the hiding out and not letting my light shine. So that same.
Yeah. Going under that, what do you think it is? Like, what's the subluxation underneath? Okay, I acknowledge I need to hire. I acknowledge, there are needs to expand. But is there a fear of expansion, or is there a worthiness to expand? Totally. What do you think is under that?
More work. It's that attitude that, do I really want to take on more? Whereas logically, I go, wait a minute, if I just delegate out more and then I can cut my hours away. Yes, it's the resistance. I'm fighting with my resistance.
And so intuitively, if you listen in, what's the adjustment?
The adjustment is that vision that's right over there. Just step into it, Katina. Yeah. That. Yeah.
So just fly. Yeah.
Nice. Ditto.
And really, it like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing a lot better with it just very recently. But, if you'd asked me last week, it would have been almost word for word ditto. I just feel a strong calling like I always have, but to really expand it, I'm not even sure what the resistance is. I recognize some of the old resistances, who am I, those kind of thoughts. Those are the ones that I think I'm really very close to completely overcoming, because I share this with people all the time. People, want to lead, want to do more. And they say, who am I? They have this imposter syndrome. And I said, innate doesn't call the qualified, innate qualifies the called, So
say that again.
Yeah.
Say it again, because that's something everybody needs to. And for anyone listening that's not a chiropractor or hasn't gotten acquainted with the concept of innate, it's a word. It is an essence that we know very well in chiropractic, that there is an innate voice, an innate wisdom, an innate special something within you. And so he's talking about this voice, this calling within. Now, what is it?
That voice doesn't call the qualified, it qualifies the called. Now, I look back at my life, everything I've ever been called to do, that I actually had the courage to step into, even though I didn't have a clue, or I thought I didn't have a clue. It's called on-the-job training, I guess. And that's how you find out. That's how you find out what you're capable of, or closer to being capable of. Because I don't think we ever really find out what we're capable of. I'm not sure how many of us test it to the limits.
And perhaps an adjustment, is patience, right? Where like you have this thing and it's not time yet, or there's, personal upgrades or healing or timing of the world or timing of personal life that still need to align. So it is that dance of like, I see it, I feel this calling, tell me when, and I won't worry about the hows, right?
Yes, exactly. And hopefully not worry about the when too much either, because
right. Ugh,
I could
surrender.
I could do everything right, but I'm not going to grow apples where Katina lives right now, right? Or well, maybe right now, but not in a couple of months.
Right.
But I still have to nurture the soil. I still have to do, I still have to do the work, right? And then timing takes care of the rest.
Mm-hmm. All processes take time, huh? Yes. So now if we go out from the micro of self and up level into practice professional self, let's go bigger and kind of zoom out, eagle view above the chiropractic profession as we each see it and know it. What would you say as we look at how chiropractic has shown up, interacted in the last couple years, of how we've showed up in service? What is our biggest subluxation in chiropractic?
You want this one, Katina, too?
I'll take a piece of it, only because I don't see it. But when I'm out there in large groups, I hear the undertones. And there's a sentence that's come up a couple of times that actually hurts me when I hear it. And I hear people say, chiropractic eats their young. And it made me want to puke and understand, why would we say such a thing or even participate in the thought, never mind the action of it? And so for anyone to say that in a room, there's something that's not right. I don't know what it is. But tell me.
You do, because you do a really good job. So I want to pause you there because and for context, again, for listeners that have been drawn to this episode and maybe aren't in chiropractic, I think it applies in other professions as well. But historically, chiropractic practices are like, have been this one doc, and then we hire associates. And so when they hire on newer doctors or students coming out fresh out of school, the concept of chiropractic eating its young is that those associates aren't always compensated properly, aren't always appreciated properly. And that there's a lot of hurt and perhaps abuse is a better word of the people, the feelings and time and energy engaged. And so I think there's a way to look at that from the hiring doctor's perspective and from the doctor being hired perspective. But Katina, you do a beautiful job as someone who gets to witness you from outside in of speaking life into these young docs. When you said, I don't know, I think maybe you do. If you pause and feel of like, what could a potential answer be of how we could do it better, of whether you want to take the role of a hiring doc or an associate doc, how could we do it better? How could we heal that chiropractic eats its young notion?
I think your conferences that you've put together, the gathering, the vortex, the remembering. Okay, I still get when those 100 people came together for that weekend, and to see them sit in circle in transition and the words that came out of their mouth, they up-leveled. So I think that's where our reconnection needs to happen. And it is a remembering of who and what we do.
Yeah.
And connecting to our source so that we can go out and have a relationship with life and a patient and a practice. And, because we still are functioning for ourselves and our family and our husbands and wives and your farms and et cetera. It's a lot of lives to deal with. So being able to connect into
those safe circles that we have facilitated together. I think of the hot seat moments in Sedona, and understanding that there are two ways or both sides that really need looked at, where I have heard the students say that we eat the young, but there is this, like, I have heard the doctor's perspective who's hiring, who's earned a reputation, who's established, that wants to see more fire and hunger and what can I do? What can I give? Not what can I get? What can I receive? Nurture me, love me, believe in me, invest in me. Both reciprocation of what can we do together? What can I give to you? And what can I receive from you? That there is teacher and student to be, appreciated on both sides. I'm with you. When you look at the burnout rates in chiropractic, it's devastating. It's heartbreaking. And so I think creating those safe spaces and accountability tribes to maybe hear some of the things we don't want to hear, that we could do better. And you do a great job of that.
Yes, you do. I was going to say that I thought the biggest subluxation in chiropractic is what it's always been, the infighting that we insist on. We get very creative on, things to fight about. If we could get like half as creative about finding common ground and getting together and like talking to each other, but I think actually the subluxation beneath that is the same as the chiropractic eating their young thing. It's just there's a lack consciousness. There's an inferiority complex. There's I don't know even if on either end of that relationship, if there's a lot of clarity or certainty or enthusiasm about what they're doing. And, so that's, I think, the subluxation that really needs to be addressed. And again, it's the same answer because that's where I found out, I found out by observing what I did and its effect on people. But I also, heard things that opened my eyes and opened my heart by going to seminars and by participating in circles and gatherings and those kind of things. Because, I think all chiropractic students should be like shifted around all the different schools. I think if nothing else, but to talk to each other. Because this is another thing I found out during COVID is that, when we actually relate as people, we can get past our differing views. we can, and maybe we can learn something. We can maybe even see that we have the same intentions and the same values, and maybe we have different ways of approaching them. But, there's a lot of ways to find common ground that as a profession, we've never really put a lot of energy into exploring. So just put me in charge and I'll take care of it.
Hey, man,
Awesome.
we keep talking about, and I know that it's, again, probably pieces of the conversation we were having of timing, aligning, and each of us stepping into it. I know I've had this conversation with each of you, Ben and Lona, Denisa, countless chiropractors, really, Brett, about like creating that safe space where we can show up authentically as who we are, and unite in our diversity. And so, I will hold the vision that is possible and probable, and that chiropractic will find a way to heal itself from the inside out, as the world does. So we go in. We expand even bigger. What do you think the biggest subluxation is for humanity, right? Like we could pick, this one could come in 100 different flavors. Currently, if you lay your hand over the globe and you feel across the countries and the continents and you feel into the energy, the fear, the anger, the sadness, the apathy, the shame, all of it, like, where do you feel the biggest subluxation over humanity?
I think we've lost our sense of humor. I think we take ourselves way too seriously. I think we take a lot of trivial things way too seriously. And obviously by doing that, we've lost touch to some degree with the important things and our commonality and again, I hear about in Lincoln's time, they would have fistfights at political rallies, but then they go drinking at the bar together. And I see like Scalia and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that kind of thing. It's like people with very different views can still love each other as people, but that takes a little lightness. That takes a little sense of humor. I mean, you have to be able to laugh at yourself, and we become super sensitive instead of. So, to me, that's a big problem.
When we feel it, we tend to feel it. Otherwise, we couldn't find it, right? So when you lose your sense of humor, what do you do to adjust yourself?
My wife generally doesn't allow that to go on very long, but.
So surrounding yourself with people.
Yes. I think it's really important to have support system for that. But, obviously it's really important to work on that yourself too, to reframe in the moment. I mean, and the question I ask myself often is, where am I? Or where am I on this grid? Am I like charging up my energy right now, or am I depleting my energy? And so that gets me out of good and bad and judgment and all kinds of stuff. It's like, this thought is not doing anything for my energy. It's just depleting me. And so, or I'll just watch a funny movie or something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, take a nap, get off whatever train you were on and just stop feeding that momentum. And
I have a whole string of mental images that I pull forward at times like that because they make me laugh every time when I think about it. I'll share them with you sometime.
Yes.
Probably wouldn't be as funny for you as they are for me.
But it teaches people how to do it, right? Because it takes us up the energetic ladder instead of down it. And so It's like when we're in those low vibrations, you figured out ways to recalibrate higher from those anger, fear, sadness, judgment up to the joy and love.
And I also think finally that I don't want to mandate it, but it would be great if every child could participate like in a mission trip or something like that. I'm so grateful that my daughter got to do that when we were doing a lot of mission trips, because just to see these people, they don't take themselves so seriously. They have their values are just so strong, and we look at them and we say, well, they don't have anything. And yet when somebody who doesn't have anything is offering you half of what they have, it's a life-changing experience. And I don't know, it's just so many things that are so easy for us in the Western world that, that we end up fighting over yeah. So I think that would be helpful. I think it would be really helpful if we could, it's just same kind of thing. It's just some shared experiences, some actual heart-to-heart meeting with people, other people, people within different situations, different values with different lives. They don't have different values. We all have the same values, but there are people in the world that seem to be living them more easily or more lightly, or, again, even though they don't have all the things that we tend to tell ourselves we need in order to do that. Yeah. So I think that would be a great thing.
An attitude of gratitude. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Humanity. Where's the subluxation?
Fear. Tapping in and plugging into the fear button versus, oh my goodness, wow, the sun is shining, the trees have leaves, that look at the colors. Oh my goodness, I'm breathing. It is that gratefulness for everything little, because there's a bazillion amazingnesses that outweigh these shatterings of fear. And they're just energy pieces. And looking at them in that level, that they're just, it's like not letting the dirty dog in your house. Stay out. And what's allowed in my house and in my realm is, the peace, the good, the joy, the gratefulness. And partaking in things that give me joy. A nap, a hot bath, digging in the dirt, taking the dog for a walk, walking backwards, blowing a harmonica, whatever. Simple little big things.
So simple that it has gotten hard. We've allowed it to get hard. Would either of you say that on dark days, someone follows you around and says, hey, here's the humor, here's the joy, I'll bring it back to you, you lost it? Or is it an active dance? It's an active choice to stay engaged at those frequencies.
It is. It's totally active. I make my body do something. I have to make my mind stop doing so many things. And then I got to tap into my spirit, and you should just go and pray and meditate. And that clicks me back into the proper sequence of where my energy's going. If my mind's taking too much energy, I got to check in on my body. I got to check in on my spirit. And what is my mind doing? It's not in charge all the time, just because it chatters all the time. It's like having it's handicap. I love it.
I think it's an active choice too, but I think the more we make that choice, the easier it gets. And sometimes it even feels like it's following me around. So I kind of had both of those experiences, but I think it's because I've called it forth. I've turned in that direction. My version of turn the other cheek.
You actively invite your inner child to travel through life with you. Yes. Yeah.
So it's never that far away, or seemingly as far away as maybe it used to seem.
I love you guys. Conversations with the two of you are such a remembering and such a restoration. And it really is just a minute to pause. We all know these things. We're not talking about anything that people don't know, and so I hope what this is a little flashlight that they can, navigate the dark, and we can throw some breadcrumbs out so that it stitches these seeds in them, right? So they can use it when they need it. And that's, I think, what pulls us forward into 2022 and into, however long this whole healing experience takes us, or whatever the future has in store. We have to have a vision. And for me, I think about the big idea, the ADIO, the expect miracles, the life without fear, all of those being possible for every child, every woman, every man. And when we cast a vision out together, the three of us, and we see a world filled with children who know and believe the power that made the body heals the body. And when we see women who raise children and practice their craft and dance and sing and play in the bigness of the fellow within them, and we see men who can be strong and fierce and soft and gentle, and we see these things, the big idea, come to life. How do we get there? And what can we do today to make it a reality?
Keep living it. Mm-hmm. Keep living the big idea, which is our chiropractic premise: above, down, inside, out. Mm-hmm. What do I connect to? My source, above. What happens to it? Comes inside me. So I practice it getting inside of me, because it's coming down through all my chakras and breathing and filling and food and inside. It's got to get inside. We got to fill this thing, this thing, this thing. Then go out, because we've all done burnout with in and out and in and out and in and out. So that's living the premise of chiropractic. Live above, down, inside, out. Trust it, move it, work it, shine it.
Mm.
Beautiful. Well, I think it's really important to hold as part of the vision that people already do get the big idea, that people are the big idea, that we don't have to teach them. We just have to help them overcome whatever is stopping them from remembering it. It's just like when we adjust people. It's we start from the place that they're already whole, and yeah, we got the easy job of just removing interference and watching that express and unfold. So I think it's exactly the same thing for the world, and in my interactions with people, I see that on a one-to-one basis. So yeah, keep living it, keep speaking it, and hold the vision that, it's not, even when people don't seem to get it, it's not that they don't get it, it's just a little buried. Or the apples haven't quite, it's not season, but so let's keep pulling the weeds and fertilizing the soil and everything that's ours to do.
So perhaps we don't need to get the big idea, but if we be the big idea, all else will follow.
I really like that.
And Stu, what you said, we got to pull that one apart and pour a little more light into it, because like we mentioned, you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, Wayne Dyer. And so the shift was so subtle how you just shared it, but it's massive. If we don't look at people, if it's not needing to take it, teach it, give it, that takes the weight off the chiropractor. The urgency and this struggle, the struggle goes away when we shift it to embody the big idea instead of do the big idea, give the big idea, teach the big idea, because we already see people as whole, healed beings.
That's really the only way to make it other than an idea. So, yes.
Yeah. That's how we create the space for miracles to happen. Yes. Yeah. So people are, I'm sure, as they tune into this, going to want more of you. Where can they find you right now? How can they tap into more Stu and Dr. Katina goodness if they want it right now?
Go ahead, Katina. Oh, me first? Okay. Well, I'm easy to find. Stu Bittman. I'm on Facebook. I have a podcast. I recorded episode 104 today. It's actually a rebroadcast, which I cheat now and then. But it's called Love is the Only Rational Choice. So it's probably a good one for today. And those are probably the best ways to get more of me or to reach me.
And this podcast that is reaching all continents except Antarctica, right?
We're working on that.
And how many countries?
50 at the moment.
50. I celebrate you from here, my brother.
Thank you. That was amazing when I saw my little stats there.
And
super cool.
What is it called and where can they find it?
It's called Stew on This,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on every podcast platform. It's got dashes between the stew and the on and the this.
Okay.
If you don't put in the dashes, it doesn't come up on Apple Podcasts. But,
I will make sure I get them a link.
So got to have the dashes in there.
And Miss Katina, if they want to go to Nicaragua or jump in with a Katina experience.
So I haven't updated anything, but I can see things are coming around the corner for January. We do have another Nicaragua trip because this last one was so transforming for the 18 people to just so much change. So we're going again end of March. And I think there's a couple seminars coming up. So I will put something on drkatina.org. And it'll probably be right around the beginning of December. I'll get all that stuff organized. And,
nice. And my website is bitmanbliss.com.
Ooh.
And we will be bringing Vortex to Sedona, or joining the Vortexes in Sedona in spring 2022. We just got to see where the stars want us to align in that. We did it April, May last year. And I'm hoping that we'll get together for Big Idea in summer 2022 as well. And so many other things, because these movers, these shakers, these rebel friends of mine that are radical enough to believe that humanity is whole and beautiful and powerful beyond measure. These radical friends of mine that believe in ADIO and the power within, these beautiful people that you guys just got to listen with, Dr. Katina and Dr. Stu. We are going to find a way to connect and empower and celebrate life and humanity in bigger and brighter ways in the coming months. So stay tuned.
Sweet.
Signing off for now, but ... Right?
Well, that's a wrap. You have successfully navigated another conversation of if they knew. And if you didn't know before, you know now. I hope that there's something that got shared in this latest conversation that helped wake up and shake up something inside of you, something that takes you closer to healing, something that helps you grow, something that pushes you, supports you, encourages you along your own healing and happiness journey. Because, they were right about one thing. We are in this thing together, and in sharing our stories, in lifting one another up, in shining our light forward, that is how we create the future we all know is possible. So I want to hear if you have any requests. I want to hear what your favorite takeaways were. I hope that you share this with a friend or family member. Come play with me on social. Please reach out to me if there's anything that I can do to support you, or if you have any follow-up questions at all. We are only just getting started, my friends. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Blessings your way. And remember, we were born for such a time as this, and we are expecting miracles. I'll see you soon.